Hello, good morning, good evening, good night. This is the Adventure Effect Live with Tom and Curtis. In the Adventure Effect Live, we talk to entrepreneurs, we talk to adventurers, and we talk to spiritual seekers about the confluence of business, adventure, and spirituality, and the magic that happens in that space. And today we are delighted to have, for the second time on the show, Kate Strong. We spoke to Kate in December. She is a triathlete, she is an entrepreneur, she is generally a badass. And when we spoke to her last year, she was gearing up for 3 world records in one day. She was going to attempt to break the 1 hour, 12 hour, and 24-hour cycling records on a static bike. And it was great fun to talk to her about her training, about the adventure of gearing up for such a huge event. And now we're on the other side of the attempt, and it's been quite an adventure. So Kate, welcome back to the show. It's great to speak to you again.
It's wonderful to be here again. Thanks for having me as a guest.
We're so excited to have another conversation with you after you've made your world record attempt and been foiled on another front.
Indeed.
So tell us about the adventure. It didn't quite all go to plan.
Not at all. So the attempts were all scheduled, been planned for months in advance for Thursday, the 7th of January. And on the Tuesday, I actually had a Zoom call with my team. So I've got 12 to 15 volunteers that were all turning up to support me. And about an hour after we got off the call, confirming all the details of this entire operational plan, the Prime Minister of the UK announced a national lockdown, which meant in effect that we couldn't go ahead. There was no way that we could all be in the same place at the same time, nor could I attempt the record without my team present. So from the top of, we're going to do this, we're 2 days away, I'm in the fittest I've ever been, I'm in this great zone, ready, I can mentally visualize myself crossing the static line after 24 hours and seeing how we're going to celebrate it. There was no chance of me even being able to attempt the record at all. And so we had no choice really, it was completely taken off the table. So that night, my partner and I sat down, because he's been integral in the operations side of things, and we discussed the potential of buying a bottle of gin and drowning our sorrows, or finding a way to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And we knew we wanted to do something to honour it, away from alcohol, and we chose to attempt the 1 hour world record. We still had the social distancing rules to navigate, because Guinness, to officiate it, we needed 2 witnesses. So I chose to do the record outside in the street and have my witnesses watch me from their lounge windows. So they were socially distanced and we could complete it. I didn't plan the day to be a sub-zero temperature and have ice all around the room. But it was 1 hour on the bike where my lungs were challenged as much as my legs. And we had a moment to be able to celebrate, at least in one part, this journey, and also not hide the disappointment, but have some element of success, whilst also knowing that this was not really what we wanted. So yeah, a completely different day to what I imagined, but one that I'm very happy to have accomplished and proud of myself all the same.
And congratulations all around on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations on achieving a world record, one of the 3 that you set out to achieve, and perhaps even more, congratulations on receiving this thunder blow and making something out of it. It's quite astonishing.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Talk us through the moment when the lockdown was announced. What I imagine that to be quite a moment.
Yeah, the first thing was we jumped straight on the internet to confirm exactly all the details, to see if there was any loophole or any way that we could actually carry on, and also make sure that we protected our team, because this is a pandemic and regardless of our opinions and thoughts around the motivations, I still wanted to honour that we were in a health risk zone, and I wanted to make sure my team and myself were protected, and the people who might be walking around. So when it became clear that there was absolutely no way we could go ahead, in honesty, there was a flicker of relief. It's hard to put myself out there to do something I've never done publicly, where people could point their finger and say, you failed again, or you're not X enough, or we knew it. So I did have that moment of, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to sit on a bike for 24 hours and feel that pain, and also the public humiliation that my mind went into. But that was quickly replaced with frustration. How dare something outside of myself, outside of my control, tell me what I can do in my life? We're told all the time with these self-help books and motivation, we are the master of our lives. We can control our destiny. And suddenly I had no control at all. I mean, I got quite a lesson in that in my own way, because it reminded me that I'm very privileged. The vast majority of my life, I am able to do what I want when I want. And there are thousands of communities out there that don't have this on a daily basis. And my first world record problems sort of pale in significance to other people's lack of control in their lives. But initially I was relieved and frustrated, which then sort of fed into a sort of inner burning and inner drive into saying, okay, what can I do? What do I want to do as well? Do I want to use this as a genuine excuse? Or do I want to find yet another level that I need to dig into and drive into finding a way to make it happen? And it took a day, because I slept on it, but the following day I said, I'm ready to dig. Let's find a way. Let's just do something that we can do legally, and also, celebrate. This is a time to enjoy life and drive forward.
Because I remember you said one of the reasons that you were doing this in the first place is because there was no female record for this particular event, and when you discovered that there wasn't a female record, you were like, well, why the F not? And so part of the reason that you were doing it was not only for your own challenge and your own adventure, but also to be that role model, to be an inspiration for other women and girls, to show them that this is possible.
Yeah.
How much did that play into your desire to push through and make something of it?
Yeah, I mean, the 1 hour world record exists. It was the 24 hour that no female had done. But yeah, I think in that moment it was for everyone. It wasn't necessarily just for women. I think the pandemic has been used as an excuse for lots of people to stop caring about themselves, to stop dreaming, to start just getting a bit resentful, and justifiably it is hard living in uncertainty. It's tough how we don't know what's happening 1 week to the next. So I wanted to do it for everyone as well, to say we can still have goals, we can still move forward, and maybe we need to introduce an element of compassion that allows this journey to be a little more meandering than our usual Western direct self. I'll put that stake in the ground and it will not move. We maybe need to add that sort of mobility to allow changes to happen that are outside our control. So it was for everyone, not just women. So hopefully that's what I instilled in people, is we don't need to give up just because we're in yet another lockdown or in yet another space where we don't know what's going to happen.
It's one of the things about adventure is that we never really know. We have our goal, right, which is the flag in the sand, whether it's the top of a mountain or a world record or whatever it is. But things will come up, and part of the beauty of adventure is that resilience that we learn in dealing with obstacles, in dealing with these challenges that we had there's no way that we could predict that log would fall across the road and block the path, or that the lockdown would happen, or whatever, something happens in a relationship where it's just like completely out of nowhere. And and a lifetime of adventure teaches us that resilience, teaches us the problem solving skills and the ability to kind of be in that unknown space of, well, what the fuck do I do now? and come out the other side of it still heading in the right direction.
Yeah. I love what you guys stand for, because you do bring that connection back to nature, that we are beings of nature. And even if we want to go for that bike ride on a Thursday, or in 6 months' time climb that mountain, it may rain, there may be a thunderstorm. And it's not about giving up or never climbing that mountain again, but it's about finding a way to enjoy the rain and not forget about the mountain. So yeah, it's about just learning to love this vulnerability, or this sort of uncertainty, and knowing that we are the masters of our responses, but there's no way we can design the life that we want and live it as if, you know, in 20 years' time, this is where I'm going to be and this is what I'm going to look like. We have no idea. That log may fall down much sooner or never at all. So it's about just opening up our hearts to making sure that we can love it for what it is, regardless of what we think it should be.
Yeah, and that's so important for us to, you know, through going through adventure and the process of being an adventurer, we learn to remove our conditions on reality and relationships, and to allow things to be as they are. And the more that we can relax into what is, the more fun and the more pleasure and the more joy we get out of our adventures. And the more we resist what's happening, the more we get into a constricted place, and then that has a compounding effect where things keep getting harder and harder and harder. Whereas if we're able to roll with it and to just accept what is and be vulnerable, then all of a sudden we can click back into that flow and we can find that groove again.
The word that comes to my mind is surrender.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and you were describing it with your own business. If I can share that just offline, in that last year you had this master plan of every month bringing together people to learn in a group in nature the lessons you wanted to pass on to them. And obviously you can't do that. If you hadn't surrendered to this, you wouldn't have birthed the online masterclasses that you're offering now, which you said you don't know what it can deliver, but you do know it will be life-changing. And it's about that honesty that we're sort of introducing, be it through sport, be it through coaching, be it through however we want to interact, that just lets people be human. You know, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to not know. That's the beauty of life.
You said something just a minute ago that I thought was really, really beautiful. You said we're the masters of our own responses. And, you know, just before you were saying, you know, all of this self-help stuff tells us that we're the master of our universe. But what we are not is a master of all of this stuff around us, but we are totally in control of how we respond to it. And we can, and sometimes we need to respond with a bottle of gin. Right? And sometimes we need to not respond to a bottle of gin with a bottle of gin. We need to respond with a different action, with a pivot, with a new plan or a new surrender. And it's actively, you know, I think everybody, when they suffer a setback, you know, even a minor one, the first thought tends to be somewhere in the direction of gin. Right? Or gin, or escape, or numbing, or whatever. And the more we can actively choose a different path, the more we can actively choose to be like, okay, well, let's roll with the punches and see what magic is going to come from this, because something magic will come.
Yeah.
Then we bring that resilience and we bring that grace almost into everything that we do in life.
Yeah, very much so.
So we were just talking before we came online about the future. And so you still have plans to do your 24-hour record. But you also have plans, like we spoke about last time, you also have plans for another big adventure to cycle across America, to swim the English Channel, and to climb Mount Everest. So talk a little bit about the impact of this on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I had this beautiful 2.5-year life plan that was going swimmingly up until the 7th of January. And now that the 24-hour record has been pushed to a date in the future to be decided by the British Prime Minister, it does influence my training. I should be starting swimming training now, ready for my qualifier swim later in the year to swim the Channel the year after. I can't do that. So I'm now squishing 18 months of training into potentially 12 months. And I don't know how my body will physiologically cope with that, or mentally, because there's a lot of pressure going on. And I'm still processing it. This is only 10 days since my world record. So I'm sure we'll find a way, and we'll find a way that works for me on all levels, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, and my team as well. But it does mean my shoulders are growing a little bit bigger, and I'm getting growing pains, let's put it politely. So I am struggling a bit at the moment to cope with this extra pressure and a shortened time frame. And there's also the operations and the business aspect of things behind that, and the pressures there. So my brain, I can feel, is clicked into the how. I think we talked about this before, that I'm now in the how am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to fly from here to get to there, to make sure and it's not a fun place to be, because I'm used to my, yay, this is why I'm doing this. So I'm doing this to change the world, to inspire myself, to be my authentic being. And now I'm just sort of in the grit of hows, and it is quite struggly. It is granular, so that I don't feel the flow as much. So yeah, it's a force.
And part of that is that when we're undertaking an endeavor, we ultimately want our skill level and our challenge level to match. And you've suddenly found yourself in a place where the challenge level is much higher than your skill level, and you're essentially in a place where you have to make a decision that you don't want to make. Do you reduce the level of the challenge by just focusing on the swim, or do you find a way to increase your skill to rise to meet the challenge? And both have their positives and minuses.
Yeah, and it's pressure on my team as well, because I'm learning how to manage team, especially volunteers, because that's a different dynamic again. I'm now asking them, we need to do more in shorter periods. Some of them have young children, some of them, have other obligations, and there's a lot of sort of growth in all of us, in communication as well as in what you were saying about the challenge and timelines. Because a thought occurred to me, why don't I just push everything back a year? But then there's no space for growth. I've just given myself a year of gin.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't what I need. I need to keep the pressure and see what magic or diamonds fall out of it.
Well, it's the thing that is really powerful is to trust that things are always working out for us, regardless of how this all plays out. To trust that you're getting exactly the thing that you need out of this, that for your evolution and growth, the perfect thing is happening right now. And that whatever decision you make is perfect, and that the result that flows out of that is perfect. And I suspect that if you're able to start coming back into that place, that that's when I start getting creative again, is when I'm really stressed and I'm like, okay, things are working out. Things are always working out. And to when I look back on my past and I go, oh, I remember when I felt like this and it worked out. I remember when I felt like this and it worked out, and start seeing the flow of my history and how, looking back at, oh, I came from there and now I'm here. And and it's a magical journey. Like, my starting point in life did not, the track that person is on from where I came from doesn't end up sitting here having this conversation with you two wonderful humans, and however millions of people are watching. um, it doesn't happen. But I just, through all of those situations, I learned to trust that things will work out somehow, and they did. And
yeah,
yeah,
it's very true. Sorry.
I have a question for you, which I think will provide value for anyone who's watching. You said that you're stuck in the how, and where you're in that grace is when you're in the why. This is the reason why I'm doing this. And this is something that we work with our clients with a lot, is to pull them from that how and what into the why. And I just wonder, what do you do? Do you have any tips, any techniques that you can share for your process of pulling yourself from there back into the why?
Yeah. What I do is, one, I don't beat myself up for being in the how. For whatever reason, I need my comfort blanket. I need my safety zone, which is in the how. And I need to not move, because what you were saying earlier about, there are lessons here that I need to learn. So if I'm in the how, I'm learning how to manage this. So one, I definitely make sure that I don't beat myself up or put that I should be somewhere else, or I should be thinking something else. I spend more time journaling. So I write down these emotions, get them out of me, or rant or have a conversation with my boyfriend just to vocalize it, to release it. Because last night I was sharing some things to him before we went to bed, and I felt relief after I said it. You know, they weren't great conversations, as in it wasn't a great thought process I was in, but just by letting it go, I felt better. So I find ways to get it out of me. And then to get into the why, I bring out my vision board. I have certain words that I don't focus on what I will have when I'm doing this. I focus on who I'm being. You know, I'm being, inspirational, focused, determined, passionate, being love. I focus on, well, okay, I'm this big today. How can I still bring determined into that? How can I still bring love into that? So I release the havings of the records or the medals or the success stories, and I focus on who I'm being, because that's something I can do anywhere I am in the world. What do you guys do to release your hows if and when you get into that sort of circular thought process?
Yeah, I mean, for me anyway, you touched on a lot of the things. The most important thing, I think, is to be in the feeling of what you're experiencing. You know, we're trained from children, not to show weakness, right? Not to be vulnerable, right? You don't bring your personal life into work. All of these things, boys don't cry. All of, so many messages that we get taught through our lives that teach us to bottle up what we're experiencing and not talk about it and keep it inside and, sweep it under the rug and get on with it and, pull your socks up and, all of this stuff. And that's when over time it all gets stored in the body, and we end up with, recurring injuries that have no cause. It's this accumulation of stress of not dealing with what we're dealing with. So yeah, one, be with what you're feeling. Two, talk about it, either through journaling or through conversations, but with trusted people. It's really important to that those conversations are constructive and not just re-traumatizing. So I was having a conversation about this yesterday. For most of my life, I thought that I was processing all of my wounds and my traumas because I was talking about it to anyone that would listen. But what I've come to realize over the last few years is actually I was just desensitizing myself. I was just putting layers of story on top of the actual emotion and not actually feeling anything. And when I pulled all of that back, and I was like, well, this is how it actually feels. This is how it feels to be me. This is how it feels to feel unsafe, to feel like I don't have a home, like all of the things that I've had to deal with. Now I feel like it's kind of processed by actually going there and not skirting around the side of it.
Yeah.
That's really important, just to, I completely get speaking to the right people, because similar to you in the past, I'd speak about certain wounds and scars and events I was carrying, and all that was happening was they were reinforcing my victim state, or reinforcing the emotional trauma, or reconfirming that I had a right to be bitter, rather than actually letting go of it and moving through that. So yeah, completely.
Because when you talk about it, you talk about all the reasons why, you talk about all the reasons why it's okay for me to feel this thing without actually feeling the thing. Just building up walls and walls and walls around it.
Yeah, and that was my story as well. As I talked a lot about all of the things in my life that were happening and had happened ad nauseum, and I thought I was being vulnerable. And talking about a thing is not the same as being vulnerable. And one of the projects that's at the forefront for me personally this year is learning how to clear out all of that chatter and create the space inside me to invite the people around me into an experience of me, and to allow other people to be present to and bear witness to the things that I'm feeling. And that is the most undeveloped side of me. I feel a lot, and I think people can see that I feel a lot, but I'm right into action. Like, this is what I'm doing, and then I did this, and then I did that, and now that I did this, I can do that. And it can also push people back a bit, but learning to drop into that, like, okay, well, I'm doing this thing and it's important to me because of this, and here's the thought process. And then underneath that is like, well, I'm thinking all of this, and this is what it feels like when I think about having accomplished that. This is what it feels like to be struggling with the challenge. This is what it, but I need those steps to get to that vulnerability. And when we're vulnerable, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're in the how, I'm postulating, because this is a new journey for me, but when I've shared with people how I'm feeling and I've asked for help, or I've said, what do you see? Or how can I, then people are drawn into the situation and they're able to bring their creative energy to it. And they may have an idea that I don't have, because they're not locked in the same problem with me. They're like, oh, this is fun, let's talk about this. And I'm like, I'm dying and this is the worst thing ever. And like, all of a sudden someone says, what about this? And you're like, no, that doesn't work, but this would. And all of a sudden we're in the flow because we've invited somebody else to be present to our experience.
We just want to be heard and seen. And sometimes it's us who stops that from happening, for fear of being seen, ironically.
And felt. We want to be felt.
Yeah, we want to be seen and we want to be felt. And we are all terrified that if anyone actually sees us or feels us, then they will not love us and we'll be on our own. And it's such a pervasive fear that is completely ungrounded.
But it feels so grounded.
It feels very grounded.
It feels very grounded.
Evolution has a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
And it's I'm just thinking the times when my partner has shown me his true side through elation, dreaming big and imagining, taking over the world and how the world could be a better place, or in those spaces of complete vulnerability, of concern of where he is and how he wants to grow and he doesn't know how to in his struggles. those are the times of immense beauty. And yet most of us, and myself, I see myself staying in this neutral zone. It's not too bad, it's not too good. Let's just keep it safe. But that isn't when we shine. It's in those moments of extreme that we're our true authentic selves. And that's what attracts me to him. Yet I hide it from him for fear of whatever. It's absolutely crazy. But
which brings me back to what you said about the second half of the transition from how and what into why, which is you said you have your vision board and you have these words that describe who you want to be, and you can bring those into whatever you're feeling, however upset you are, however angry you are, however frightened you are. You can still bring generosity into that moment. You can still bring love into that moment. And that is really the practice of being a fully expressed version of yourself. These aspects of being are me. And right now they feel far away, but how can I bring them in? How can I be generous in this moment when I'm feeling fearful? How can I be love in this moment when I'm feeling hate or anger or whatever? And again, that is a practice, right? That is a daily work.
Yeah.
Because we all, through the day, we're in and out of flow and grace and fear and disharmony. And when we can catch ourselves and be like, oh, I'm feeling pretty self-absorbed right now. How can I bring a bit of kindness to myself? That's the path. Or at least that's a path.
It is a path.
That's a path.
It sounds like a pretty good path. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also learning that what I used to call emotions aren't necessarily emotions. So
Ooh, it sounds fun. Tell us more. Tell us more.
How are you? I'm tired. Is tired an emotion?
Oh.
What does fatigue mean in my body? What is it as a feeling? Because again, that just sort of lowers. It keeps it more superficial and shallow. It's a protective mechanism. If I'm learning, well, I'm actually just reading thesauruses to find out different synonyms, because my vocabulary is very limited when I'm talking about emotions. So I want to be able to express the spectrum of color that I feel in my body, because it's not fine, it's not good, it's not great. There's so much more to it. And it's my language that's actually preventing me from tapping into it as well. So
great is definitely not an emotion. I said great is definitely not an emotion.
No.
Neither is fine.
No. So I'm trying to, and it's definitely a trying, because I'm very much the beginner or novice at this, but learning what true emotion is. How does frustration express in my body?
What comes up for me as you say that is that the feeling world, the world of emotion, is a full spectrum of colors and sounds and textures and temperatures and like all this stuff. And how can you possibly put it into words? And yet words are the only method, the only vessel that we have for communication.
Yeah. Well, if we look at a 2-year-old who is the greatest adventurer of any time of our lives, they show if they're angry, they're stamping their feet and they're huffing and they're puffing. And when they're happy, they hug you and, do a little dance. That's what emotion is. They're emotive. So why can't we just tap into our 2-year adventure selves and express it in the moment through our actions as well as our language?
Such a beautiful analogy. And I think that's one of the powerful things about adventure, because when, let's say we're climbing and we top out a climb and it's been like, we've been going at it for, 6 months or a year, and every, we complete that journey. We go and we tell our friends, and we're not in this shell anymore. We're like, oh my God, I did it. oh my God, I did it. I did the thing. Or conversely, you know, when we fall off and we're like hanging, we're like on the side of the cliff. Sometimes we're literally like, and our friends are like, are you okay up there? No, I'm not okay. And they're like, do you want to come down? Yes. Are you sure that's a good idea? Yes. Okay, I'm not letting you down. You have to keep going. And then you're angry, and people can see like, oh, he's really mad. He really wants to come down right now. Even if you're not saying anything, it can be felt in the air.
Yeah.
And then you can feel from the ground, you can feel, oh, they're starting to come around. And you're connected by this rope, and you can feel things, you know, that even if this person is 20, 30, 40, 50 feet above you, you have this like, we're tuned in with a different set of senses to our environment, right?
So something's just popped into my mind as you say that. I'm reading this book at the minute, which I highly recommend to anyone who has even the vaguest hint of adventure in their blood. It's called Explorers of the Infinite. And it's about the subtitle is The Secret Spiritual Lives of Extreme Athletes. And the chapter that I'm reading at the minute is called Strange Intuitions. And there was a group of climbers who were climbing, I can't remember, I think the mountain is Nanga Parbat in the Himalayas, and it's the biggest mountain wall in the world. And they were, you know, they ran out of food and fuel, and it was like this crazy blizzard, and there were Polish and Spanish climbers on the group, and the Poles didn't speak any Spanish and the Spanish didn't speak any Polish, but they all spoke English. So they were communicating on their radios, and like the whole trip language was English. But when they were pushed so far beyond their limit, they listened to the recordings of their radio conversations when they got back down to base camp. And for the second half of the descent, the Poles were speaking in Polish and the Spaniards were speaking in Spanish. And they didn't understand the recording, but when they were up there, they were tapped into something else. They couldn't see each other. They only had the radios to communicate. They were speaking in languages that no one understood, and yet they were fully in communication, and they were fully cognizant of what the others were up to. And the only explanation is like pure telepathy. It's pure connection on a spirit level.
I literally got chills while I was listening to you tell that. Right?
Yeah. And this is like 3 pages out of a 300-page book, and the whole book is just like, what the fuck? This is wild. Like, so just stories of people like communicating with their friend who got buried in an avalanche, and then telling the search and rescue team, oh, you need to dig under this rock, and finding the body. And like, it's just, there's so much. I feel kind of, I feel the irony of having 3 minutes ago said that words are the only method we have of communication. When we do, we have access to so much more. And through adventure, through through discomfort, through challenging ourselves, through struggle, we can access these higher realms of connection and being.
And I think that's really a big part of our project, Tom, is that both of us have this absolute certainty that we can access that more, that we can access, that there is an unknown quantifier that we can tap into and that we can utilize to completely evolve our lives to a level that we can't even imagine today. And I keep thinking about, you know, our year, you know, this time last year we had the concept that we're going to go into business together, and we had just met like a month ago, right? We met in December of 2019, and we were like, oh, we're going to, and we've gone from being two men who had never run a business before and didn't know each other from Adam, to, you know, we're negotiating for our second office now, and we are launching, we have a philosophy and an ideology, and we're pioneering a conversation around consciousness and introducing a new concept to the world, and we are learning how to bring our inner world into the outer world, because both of us have walked through life using spirituality and adventure as the yin and yang polarities of our lives. And we know that we're not alone. I mean, this book, Explorers of the Infinite, says it right there. It's 300 pages of people sharing the story of that fusion of the yin and yang polarity, that marrying, that union. And it's in that union of those two polarities that the magic happens. And it's in the union of our spiritual life and our material life, which is represented by adventure, that magic happens. And we're so excited to be walking into that unknown together, and with all of the people who are watching and absorbing this conversation. And every conversation we have, we understand a little bit more what we're doing, and a little bit more how much we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the inverse proportionality. The more we know we don't know.
Yeah.
And science has done us a huge disservice by capping our potential at 5 senses. We are infinite beings, and we need more pioneers to allow us to believe we can feel more. We've all had that moment of thinking about someone and then the phone rings and it's them. That is not by chance. There are too many occasions on that micro level that this happens. We are all connected. We are living under a huge umbrella or glass ceiling that we can smash through if we only chose to look up. And so, yeah, I'm hugely in admiration of what you were doing, and also people like myself doing things just to display, just to get that one question of what could I do in my life, or how could I challenge my current state of being to live greater or to achieve more. You know, we need to shake this world up and to actually start feeling it. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, is more feeling.
Feels like a good moment to come back to intuition. Because we all have this inner wisdom inside us. And you know, when you said science has done us a disservice, like, it's so true, because intuition is as much of a sense as touch, or maybe not sight. We're pretty visual beings, but when we train it, when we listen, and we all experience it, whether it's, you know, oh, Kate's going to call, and then Kate calls, or whether it's I should go to, you know, this restaurant that I haven't thought of for a while. Like there's something in that, and the more we follow that, you know, for me, the big one in my life is coming to Vancouver, and my gut was telling me literally for 15 years that I had to go to Vancouver, and I didn't listen to it. I talked about it. I was like, I'm going to do it at some point. I'll get around to it when the moment's right, you know, waiting for my external conditions to change to make it possible. And then eventually the voice just got too loud, and I was like, okay, right, I'm going to do it. And just that one decision, completely aside from the fact that I love Vancouver and I've got mountains and I've got ocean, and, you know, all of adventure is so easily accessible here. Quite aside from that, as soon as I made that decision to follow my intuition, it started a whole chain of events that have led me to be here, to be living my purpose, to knowing what my purpose is, to creating impact in the world, to being a leader, to, you know, having these amazing conversations with amazing people. And the more I tune into that, the more I get from it, the more I hear, and the more value it provides in my life.
Mm. Mm. And it's beautiful how we converse, because it's back to just being ourselves, to allow our voice to be heard and to trust it and show it vulnerably to others.
Yeah.
Magic is there, it's on our fingertips. It's our choice to capture it.
It is. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's a question that's been burning on my mind. And the question is this. Tom introduced this idea of explorers of the infinite, and we've been in this conversation about we have access to so much more than we realize. And, science has done us a great disservice by limiting us to our five senses. And what is awakened in you through this process that was dormant, that was sleeping?
I don't even know how to describe what has changed. I feel molecularly different. I look different. My eyes are a different color. I feel more. I dream more. I'm striving for things. I sleep better. I dream bigger. I stress less. I'm a completely different being. I don't know how to answer that unless it sounds cliche, but I cannot recognize who I used to be. I go into a room, and if I want to be funny, so 3 years ago I went to a bar. I danced like a crazy person because I felt I needed to, and I remember seeing somebody at the bar I gave my business card to, because I said, I don't know why, but you need to call me as your coach, because something in you is holding you back. 3 years later, he called me 2 days ago. He said, I've never forgot that moment, because I want to be able to dance like you did. I'm an accountant, I'm struggling. I want to be able to awaken myself. I want to connect to me and not feel like I have to hide myself. I want to be that crazy person dancing in the room all the time. I would never have done that 5 years ago for shame or fear of judgment. So I can't, like, this is a simple, crazy example, but I just want to be me everywhere. And I am now. Before I wouldn't be. So,
and how's that working out for you?
It's liberating on some levels.
Mm-hmm.
I know that anything I do is to the greatness of myself, to the compassion of others, and the vision of peace and joy and on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also been a challenge to certain family members, to certain older friends who see me as the old Kate, who see me as the complainer, to see me as the one who settles for mediocrity because it's nothing to do with me. And so I have learned to let go of certain relationships with compassion, because it's non-serving for both of us. So it has been hard as well. But I know everyone in my life today has got my back, and I've got theirs. That they want me to succeed. They want me to be Kate, whatever that is, however wild and wonderful it is. They're there for me, and they'll hold me to account to my greatness, not the mediocrity. They're not there to drink my sorrows because I couldn't do a world record. They'll call me up and say, so what are you going to do about it? Those are my friends, because they know that I want to be me more. So it with honesty, it's been a challenge to let go of the guilt as well of my old Kate, but I can't recognize myself from the past.
I feel that so much.
And you're undertaking such a heroic journey in the next 2 years that effect is going to compound, and it's going to be exponential. So as much as you can't recognize who you were from, oh, you're so excited. I don't even want to finish what I'm saying. What just lit up for you? What just became real for you in this moment?
Just close your eyes for 1 minute and imagine in May 2023, we three are chatting again. I will be a woman who cycled 3,000 miles. Imagine every pedal across Colorado, across the plains of Kansas and multiple states and finishing in Annapolis. Having felt the cold water of 18 degrees centigrade, 30, 40 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 plus hours in the Channel to arrive at a different country. And then to have felt for weeks on end the snow and the altitude of a mountain that only a few thousand have reached the top of, in a country, in a culture that is so heartfelt. We have no idea who we're going to be after that. We don't know what magic will open up. Yet all I know is that life will never be the same. There are so few people who strive for something so scary and so great, regardless of whether I get to the top or feel the ocean. I will never be the same. I will never think the same and never do the same. It's an overwhelmingly magical experience that is true metamorphosis for myself and for humanity, hopefully.
Yeah, and that, oh, Kate, thank you so much for just drawing us into that experience of your world and who you're becoming and that metamorphosis. It's so beautiful and special. And to think that we're going through our own evolution and that we get to keep touching base as time progresses and seeing who we're becoming and how we're evolving, and that, yeah, it really is a magical experience to step into our full potential and to keep exploring that leading edge of who am I today.
Yeah, and you guys are stepping into the unknown. So I've capped my potential at Everest. Where's yours?
Well, have you really, Kate?
I didn't realize the world was ending in 2023.
We can plan for it now.
We can plan for it.
I didn't know we were putting out a PSA, but 2023, the world is going to be over. Public service announcement. Kate Strong.
Kate's going
well,
to
we know it.
Yeah, maybe you'll get to the top of Everest, and that'll be the trigger for a whole new world. That's it. That's the.
All of those straws will add up.
So I want to ask you one more question, and it's related to the statement that you just made, which is so obviously absurd, that you've capped your potential at Everest. And so let's open that door of possibility today and just say what evolution is possible after you've completed that journey and stood on top of Everest.
There is a reason why I've called it the Limitless Challenge. At the top, I have no idea who I need to be at the top of that mountain. And I will only know that at the top of that mountain. And when I'm there, I'll be able to answer that question.
Can I give you a clue?
Sure.
You're it. You're already that person.
I feel that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so exciting, isn't it?
It is.
The uncertainty, the adventure we're on in our, in my lockdown flat. I'm not going anywhere yet. I can feel the excitement of this adventure that's happening right here, right now.
Yeah. And we're, the three of us are sharing something really special and really magical with whoever comes across this recording. And I feel like breaking the fourth wall and just saying, dear viewer, whoever you are today, wherever you're tuning in from, whatever your challenge is, things are always working out. And if you step into the unknown, if you embrace the magic and trust that your genius and your intuition are leading you, and you follow the tug of your inspiration, that tug, that nudge will lead you into the most magical places that you can't even begin to comprehend today. And you too will one day look back on your life and go, I don't know how I got here, but damn, am I glad I did.
Mm. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers, and take the chance to address them personally and break that fourth wall?
Any step is a step. It doesn't matter the size, if it's walking to the gym or walking up a mountain or climbing a rock face. One step away from what we've done in our past will always create a new future. So it's about just taking that leap of faith, however big or small. It's about changing our predictability, the predictability of what we see coming forwards, and knowing that the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. And there's no guru, there's no magic pill, there's no amazing book that's going to change your life. This is it. Our conversation today could be your change. 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon, make it now. There's no time to waste. Life is waiting for us to knock its door, not the other way around. So just start now. This is perfect. You've got everything you need.
Love that. And read Explorers of the Infinite.
Do you know what? I have actually ordered it. So I had to order it from Canada. There isn't a copy in the UK, so it's on its way.
Interesting. Yeah, it is a magical book. And what a beautiful message to share right at the end, as we come to the end of this conversation. I love that you have everything that you need, and the world is waiting for you to knock on its door, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. We don't need Gandalf to show up in the Shire. We can get on the boat all by ourselves.
Exactly.
So just before we wrap up, remind us once again, how can people get in touch? How can people follow you on your adventures? How can they keep up to date?
Thank you. My name is Kate Strong. I'm quite easily Googleable, if that's the word. So on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, it's Kate Strong01, and on YouTube, it's Kate Strong TV, and my website is katestrong.co. So please drop me an email. Let me know what you guys are up to as well. This isn't a one-way street. I get inspired just as much by receiving emails as I do by sending them. And yeah, thank you so much for speaking with me this year. It's been an absolute pleasure again.
Absolutely.
Well, we have also been truly inspired by this conversation, and every time we speak to you, you are an inspiration to us and to everyone around you and everyone in the world who comes across your path. So congratulations on the world record, and really look forward to hearing how the future endeavors go. And I look forward to, I'm sure Curtis does as well, but I look forward to speaking to you again in the not too distant future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm watching your adventures unfold as well. I love watching people striving for that unknown. It does keep us, remind us that we're not alone, that we can do this, and we have the right to try as well.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Well, this has been the Adventure Effect Live. We've had the honor and the privilege of speaking to Kate Strong for the last hour. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe, hit like, share, do all of that magical stuff. And we will see you again next week for the Adventure Effect Live. Goodbye.